Mark Rogers TV on college football. We all knew it was inevitable. Brady Hoke out at Michigan after 4 mostly tumultuous seasons in Ann Arbor. Lloyd Carr didn't win enough at Michigan, most Michigan fans would tell you, although his resume, of course, includes a national championship in what seems like a zillion years ago, 1997, even though one of his players is still playing in the NFL, remarkably. Of course, Charles Woodson, the Heisman Trophy winner, still with the Oakland Raiders, still making plays, headed to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Lloyd Carr won consistently at Michigan. He continually went to big BCS Bowl games and New Year's Day games, even when he didn't quite get to the BCS level. Go through Lloyd Carr's record at Michigan. Again, always winning 9, 10, 11 football games. Lost some big games, lost the Rose Bowl a couple times to USC, also lost to Michigan on the Vince Young last drive in a very dramatic game, 38-37. But Lloyd Carr finished up his career at Michigan, winning over Tim Tebow, Urban Meyer in Florida in 2007 after a 9-7 campaign. So he turns it over to Rich Rodriguez, and wow, Michigan lost big. 3-9 season, 5-7. He finished off at 7-6, but was embarrassed by Mississippi State in the Gator Bowl, finishing that season at 7-6. The Bulldogs won that game 52-14. Michigan completely outclassed with Denard Robinson at quarterback. He should have never played quarterback at this level. We see what Denard Robinson's doing in Jacksonville in the NFL, running for 100 yards a game. That's what he should have been doing at Michigan. So they bring in Brady Hoke, who really initially in that first season of 2011, he capitalized on Rich Rod's top 15 recruiting classes. And Brady Hoke continued the fine recruiting. And in Michigan's first season, no, they weren't quite this good. The record was a bit deceiving at 11-2, but they did go 11-2. They defeated a down Ohio State team. Of course, that was between Jim Tressel and Urban Meyer when Luke Fickell was on the sideline for the Buckeyes in that 6-7 season. But Michigan still not the best team in the Big Ten, but went 11-2, won the Sugar Bowl over Virginia Tech, so a BCS Bowl win in Brady Hoke's first season. He recruited well. He's brought in, check it out, top 10 to top 15 classes just about every year at Michigan in those 4 years. Really, I thought his best team was in 2012. Even though they only went 8-5, they played a rugged schedule. Notre Dame, the team that went to the national championship game on the road, they outplayed Notre Dame, but of course they had Denard Robinson at quarterback. He should have been playing wide receiver, running back, running a lot of jet sweeps, but he was playing quarterback, threw 3 interceptions. They lose to Notre Dame even though they outgained the Irish in South Bend. They lose at 13-6. They get obliterated by Alabama, and Alabama was in a different hemisphere at that point, 41-14. They take an undefeated Ohio State team to the hilt, 26-21. They get to the bowl game against South Carolina. They play a great game. They should have won the game. They had it won like 18 different times on the last drive, but they lose on a last-second Dylan Thompson touchdown pass, 38-33. So it's an 8-5 finish, but they were by far the best 5-loss team in America. They were really solid in 2012. My thinking at that point was Devin Gardner, once a wide receiver, switched to quarterback, played the last 5 games, looked really good against Ohio State, looked good in the Outback Bowl. How could this kid not get miles better with a complete spring practice and summer camp under his belt? All that film study, all those reps, new offense, and Devin Gardner would be ready to go. And with these recruiting classes under Rich Rod and then Brady Hoke, Michigan should take off in 2013. Well, the offense has been deplorable the last 2 years. Devin Gardner has not regressed. He's imploded. The offensive line has been atrocious, even with Taylor Lewan, a top 10 pick in the NFL draft at left tackle in 2013. The offensive line was atrocious. The running game was non-existent. For a Michigan team to have the rushing attack that it displayed in 2013, deplorable. Negative yardage against Nebraska and Michigan State. One of my favorite numbers from the 2013 season, Fitz Toussaint ran 27 times for 27 yards against Penn State. Let that sink in. 27 carries for 27 yards against Penn State. The Michigan offense, deplorable. The defense was pretty good. They gave Shane Morris the keys in the bowl game against Kansas State and lost 31-14. But he showed us some stuff. There was a quarterback battle, but Devin Gardner put that to rest pretty quickly in August, and he won the job over Morris. And then this season, considering Michigan's defense is pretty darn good, top 10 in the country statistically. I don't know that they're that good realistically on the field, but they're a top 25 defense in this country. With all the 3 and outs, with all the bad field positions set up by the Gardner 15 interceptions and all the fumbles, and again, all those 3 and outs, the Michigan defense held up very well. But the offense, wow. With Nussmeier coaching the offense, Madison coaching the defense, you would think with an all-star coordinator staff of those two, Madison with all that NFL experience coming from the Baltimore Ravens, Nussmeier coming from Alabama, I thought, wow, this team's going to come together in 2014. Not be great, but go 9-3. Ohio State's better, Michigan State's better. They'll lose another game probably to Notre Dame, which they did, but they lost to everybody. And Michigan, deplorable this year at 5-7. Brady Hoke not ready for this job. He had the coordinators in place, he had the recruiting classes, but clearly not ready for this job. Something's missing at Michigan. I make the distinction between Michigan, all-time historical program, and Nebraska, also looking for a head coach, all-time historical program, and that Nebraska's bringing in recruiting classes ranked around 30 or 35. Michigan's bringing in, and again, they've stockpiled under Rich Rod, now Brady Hoke, top 15 classes. Now, the experts can miss on a class. They can miss on some recruiting rankings and say Michigan's bringing in a top 15 recruiting class and it turns out to be like a top 30 or 35 class. That can happen once. That can happen with individual players, and it happens all the time. But when you bring in 4 or 5 consecutive top 15 classes, then you've got generally top 15 talent. This team is playing like top 75 football. They're bad. Again, it's mostly on offense. The offensive line, awful. No big play wide receivers outside of Devin Funchess, who's going to show us something probably in the NFL. And, of course, the quarterback's a turnover machine. And they have no special running backs, although Derek Green should get his shot next season to show us something in the running game. All right, Michigan fans, who's your candidate for this job? We've heard some names get kicked around. Of course, Les Miles and Jim Harbaugh are those marquee names that most Michigan fans would like to think are coming to Ann Arbor. I just don't see it. Les Miles has too much recruiting talent and a recruiting base, and he's loved and beloved in Baton Rouge. And again, for him to come north and to start over at Michigan when he's got a good thing going at LSU, the only thing that could pull him away, money, loyalty to his school, and the opportunity that he could seize to be one of the real powerhouses in the Big Ten and only have to contend with Ohio State and Michigan State as opposed to a loaded SEC Western Division. Jim Harbaugh, it would just have to be loyalty, thinking Bo Schembechler had this job. He was my coach. I'm a Michigan man, and I know they're not emphasizing Michigan men, but those would be the two that could possibly, if they get their hopes and prayers realized, could come back to Michigan. Other than that, the field is wide open. Michigan fans, I would like to hear what you have to say about this Michigan job and what type of coach, even if you don't have a name, what type of coach do you want to see in Ann Arbor next season? Because Brady Hoke was not the answer. Rich Rodriguez was not the right fit. He's doing it in Arizona. He did it in Morgantown, West Virginia. He was not the right fit, apparently, or they just didn't give him enough time. Lloyd Carr, won consistently, never flashy, not a great soundbite, not a likable guy necessarily, but he just won consistently 10 or 11 games a year. Michigan needs that once again. All right, Michigan fans, let's hear it right here on Mark Rogers TV.